Welcome to the I'm Going In podcast. I'm thrilled to introduce my guest, Heidy LaFleur. Heidy is a passionate leader and the founder of Heidy with a Y. With a wealth of experience in education and a heart for helping others, she focuses on the trauma and social emotional learning. Heidy believes in making every day the best day for every child. And her insightful approach, it's touched the lives of countless students and families. Get ready to be inspired as she shares her stories and the strategies that empower children and educators alike. Welcome, Heidy LaFleur, to I'm Going In.
You're so welcome. Thank you. I loved our conversation too. It's so nice to just meet people who kind of have the same similarities with life and thoughts and just experiences. It's awesome to hear other people's stories, especially kind of make you feel not alone with all the kind of craziness that you feel about life.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, I talk about this all the time with just how I think before trauma, before it sets in, before you have those moments, whether you're associated directly with it or you're watching it as a witness to a family member or a friend that goes through it, you don't really, you try to deal with things on the inside. You do it all on your own. You don't really know that there's this whole universe of people that are going through everything, right? That we're all hurting on some level. We all have emotional distress. It's just you try to deal with it on your own. And when you have those moments of mass trauma and it just unlocks it, it to me opened up a new world to where I realized I can't do it on my own. I need to raise my hand. I need to be able to get some help. Yeah, peer support. You never really knew you had as much, but now it's like everything's amplified. And I think it's just awesome when you meet someone like yourself that is out there educating and being able to share that knowledge of hey, you're not alone. You're allowed to be vulnerable. You're allowed to show empathy towards others. It's actually a sign of strength when you ask for help, just like an athlete. And when we're hurt and you're going through your rehab, what are you doing? You're trying to better yourself so you can get back on the field, or in my case, get back on the mound so you can pitch again or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we do that with ourselves? So
Agreed. And it's so true because so many of us, especially that athletic mentality, you want to do it all. You want to be the best for your team. Nobody's going to get you down. No matter what happens, you're still going to win. And then something hits you that's bigger than you and you don't know how to win anymore, right? I guess that's kind of a weird way to say it, but you don't know how to do the simple things anymore, like enjoy life or get out of bed or be able to function. And so that's when I feel like trauma takes you over and you have to learn a little bit of a new path to figure out how to win, how to move forward, how to help people. So I think that's what I love about sharing stories is that everybody has a story. And that's how I always start my speaking engagements is trauma awareness is that everybody has a story. And I tell people, I want to change that into a verb. I'm going to make you trauma informed, meaning you know how to interact with. Because so often, trauma will come through as behavior, especially in kids. And then people want to get rid of the behavior. And in reality, it's about what's going on under that behavior. So I know what I have some control over, because I might not have control over the stuff that's happened, but I have control over my actions, my words, my expressions to this person to help them on this journey. And I think that's where the power comes, opening up just that vulnerability with people.
oh, you're so right. And especially dealing with our kids, right? They're trying to learn their own communication skills. They're going through sometimes things for the very first time, an emotional response. I remember when my son got hurt, he injured his arm. And the very first time, and thank God it wasn't anything serious, but he didn't know how to deal with that. He didn't know how to not be on the field, not play, not be one of the better players on the team. And you could tell it really affected his just emotional kind of being. And
Yes.
until he got back on the field, and then that smile came back on. But as a parent, you want to I used to be in this mode where I was like, just come on, buddy, tough it out. Let's go. It's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
And this was years ago where now after experiencing my trauma and going through, just kind of these difficulties in life, I have a different approach to that now where it's like, okay, you're struggling with something. Obviously you're not yourself. So let's try to figure out what's going on first. I can't get mad at you for this, right? You probably, I mean, for so many years, you were an educator and a principal. You probably dealt with that all the time with parents being really frustrated and
Yes.
angry. But how did you kind of approach that?
I always tried to tell them like as a mom of three myself, I'm trying to figure it out too, right? I don't have all the
Yeah,
answers, but
yeah,
I tell people you try to do the best you can because I feel like especially in school what happens is everybody's compared to everybody else. So, I mean, when you start as babies, your kid's walking, your kid's talking, your kid, knows the ABCs now, your kid's going to Harvard, your kid's going to Texas. Like, who cares? Like that the comparison's such a thief of joy, right? I'm like, it's all about who your kid is, what they love, and guide them to be the best they can be. But so often as humans, we want our kids to be what we were or better than we were, but I feel like it's just that letting go, letting them just be who they are. And I love that you said that about your son too, because my daughter plays college volleyball, tore her ACL, has never ever been hurt before. And at first, right, I wanted to be like, just whatever. And then it was like, no, you know what? This sucks. This can suck. This
yeah.
this can suck. And then what's so amazing is a year after that, she said, Mom, I'm happy it happened. I'm not happy it happened, but she said, I look at life so differently now. She's like, I can't believe how hard I can work and how much more, enthused I am about things because that happened, which sounds weird, but sometimes things happen for a reason and then we wind up in the places that we are.
It's always a learning lesson, right? I mean, no matter what. And I think that's the hard part as a parent is like you said, you're always wanting something better. Like, hey, you shouldn't have to struggle the way I did. Learn this more in your youth life, so that way, when you get into the adult life part of it, that chapter of everything, you already know this because I didn't know it. But maybe they're not ready to know things. Maybe they're still trying to figure out, especially in today's society where everything is there's so much emphasis on technology or games or social media and like I mean my daughter's going to college now, and one of the biggest fears I have is that the perception of what you're supposed to look like or who you're supposed to be or what's your TikTok following and
Ugh.
putting up all these videos or whatever else instead of just be happy with yourself. And thank God I'm really proud of my daughter because she's in tune with who she is and she's pretty stubborn in that way, which I'm excited for. But I see so many others that are just trying to like be somebody that they're not. And we
Yeah.
do it as adults too, right?
Mhm.
How do you define your version of success as an adult? But really, it should be how do you define the version of success as a child, as an adolescent, right? And then
Right.
how do you nurture that emotional response when it gets out of control and say, okay, hold on, we're going to stop. We're not going to keep going. We're not going to go to this party. I'm not going to keep up with the Joneses. We're not going to go to this pizza party because that's what all the other kids do.
Yeah.
You need some time,
Yes.
right? You need some time to be able to slow your life down and you need to be able to, I need to slow my life down.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost a lot of that, but I'd love to learn more about your educating background and just, I know when we spoke before, you reminded me of a great friend that we have out in Southern California. Her name's Kelly Anderson, and our power principle, just like you guys are very similar and just your mentality towards helping others. And yeah, so what made you want to be a teacher? And then, talk to us about your education background. The survivor symbol means so much to me as a mass shooting survivor. I wear my survivor phoenix with pride, representing strength and resilience. It reminds us that even when we feel knocked down, we're not alone. Together, we can rise stronger. A portion of the profits will support other survivors needing help. Get yours today at toddblyleven.com.
Yeah, so my whole life I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. I just love help. It's something about helping or helping people figure something out or I don't know. I just love that's what I love. I didn't
Yeah,
necessarily love school, to be real honest, but I
yeah,
loved those few teachers. I loved those coaches who really made a difference in my life because that's when I realized like how amazing a person can be. So I started my career in Chicago. After college, I moved to Chicago and I started being a fourth grade teacher. And I loved it. Was just awesome, amazing. Kids are just, to me, I always say, how are you smart, not how smart are you? So my job, I feel like as the teacher is to figure out, how are you smart? Because society wants you to, be at grade level and get test scores. And like, to me, that's all very secondary. That's fine. We have to do that stuff, but it's about how do we lift every kid up and help them understand how amazing they are and that you're supposed to have weaknesses. That's okay, right? So,
Yeah.
um, I was a fourth grade teacher. Then I got to be an eighth grade teacher, which cracks me up because so many people are afraid of junior high kids, and junior high kids
Yeah.
are absolutely amazing. They're amazing. And then I was an assistant principal at my school, and I wanted to be a leader because I knew how difficult it was to be an effective educator, right? You got to work hard. If you really want to do good things, you got to work hard for kids. And so I wanted to be that effective educator, teacher, leader that would help all of my colleagues along. And then what I thought my route was going to be is I was going to be an assistant principal. I was going to be a principal. I was going to get my doctorate by the time I was 40. I was going to be a superintendent and not a political superintendent because they drive me crazy. I was going to be a people superintendent. And then I actually thought I was going to be like the Secretary of Education. I wanted to, because people don't understand education well enough, right? They just think it's a simple thing, and it's not. Like, it's not cliche that educators make a difference. We make a difference every day, because if you've ever had a kid with a not so great teacher, it ruins their whole year. It's
Yeah.
awful. And then if you
Yeah.
have those amazing people in your life, that helps out. So I just always wanted to push the bar, and be better and give more. And that's what I love. And then when I was an assistant principal, we had a tragedy happened in our lives where my child was sexually abused in school,
Mm.
and it completely tore my life apart. It tore our lives apart because I had a kid who I gave birth to and I didn't even know anymore. Like the
Wow.
behaviors and the attitudes and the panic and oh my gosh, the school refusal. And it was like we were always on fire. That's how it felt. Like we always had a lump in our throats, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to act. And it impacted me as his mom because it's my kid. So
Wow.
um, we figured all kinds of things out. We got out of the school, we moved, I got a new job, all those like crazy things happened all in 2 months. So our whole family was kind of just surviving, like we were in survival mode. And then I became a principal in my life, and I continued doing that, but something was wrong with my heart. Like I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was having these like little crying attacks, and I would hide it, and
Mm.
I would not want to get out of bed, and I would get up every day and just fake that I was okay, like, okay, let's go, let's go, let's
Yeah.
go. But I couldn't feel it anymore. And then I was sad and depressed, and I was angry and defensive. And about 6 years into being a principal, I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Honestly, I couldn't do it. People weren't understanding my child. My marriage was kind of crazy because my husband came from a background where he thought our kid was being defiant and disrespectful. And I come from a background of I'm a teacher. So something's wrong. Like your behavior just doesn't change, you know?
Yeah.
So it was impacting our whole lives. And 25 years of being an educator, I'll never forget the day I pulled over from leaving school. I called my husband. I was sobbing. I said, I can't do this anymore. And I was the perfectionist, the athlete, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to be the Secretary of Education. Nothing can stop me. And something
Wow.
stopped me. And then I resigned from being a regular principal, I guess, and spent a little time feeling like I was losing my mind. And then I started my own business because I said, what we need to do is we need to teach educators how to deal with behavior, how to deal with trauma, what it does to the brain, because nobody talks about that. And when you
Yeah.
become a teacher, you might take a one token special education class or, a behavior class, but nobody prepares you to sit in front of 25, 30 kids, all of which come from different places, different support, different love, different levels of stuff going on in their lives. And then educators get frustrated. They want the behavior out of their rooms. And really, at the end of the day, I tell them that behavior is communication. But if our educators don't have tools to deal with it, they get frustrated, they get burned out, they leave. Like
That's right.
it's insanity. So that's what I do now. I just teach differently. I teach educators tools, the love, the support, the brain research on what trauma does, because I've seen it and I live it and I understand it. And it has been one of the greatest. I feel free now. I feel like I have this inner peace that I can just go be my authentic self and help people every day. And that's what I do. After every talk, after every speech, after everything, people are coming up crying. People are coming up giving me hugs. People are coming me up, thank you. And what's so cool is it's about the kids, but it's usually about their personal lives.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
nobody just comes to a table and says all of their stuff. They don't puke out all their stuff, but it's there, you
Yeah.
know? So I
Yeah.
feel like it's giving hope to a whole generation of kids. It's giving hope to educators and parents to know that your kid does not have to be perfect. Your kid's going to mess up. You mess up. Who cares?
Yeah. Oh man, wow, that was an awesome throwdown you just delivered.
Thanks.
First of all, uh, just going back a little bit, like here you are, you're fighting in the trenches of education anyways, being a teacher, wanting this whole, I'm going to be the secretary of education and this pride and everything else. And then the system takes you through what happened with your daughter and turns you guys upside down and slams you down like in a wrestling match, saying, we don't really care. And then now here you're fighting to try to grab onto this new like opportunity to change. And every day you're living with this trauma and it just keeps building. Was it because when you experience that lump in your throat, that's anxiety, that's depression, that's everything that you don't want to be part of in your life. And it just like it constricts you and you feel like you just can't get out of your skin and you just want to scream or yell or cry. I get it. I have those moments still, and I went through EMDR therapy for myself. That's kind of where I'm leading is when you were going through all of that, what was your outsource? Like, how did you, aside from one day just saying, okay, I'm going in for myself, because that was your defining moment when you pulled over and said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this to our family anymore. I am going to educate. There's a problem. I am going in for myself, but I'm also going to go in for all these other people. Did you go through like therapy? Where did you have a peer support group? What led you to that decision to just say, I'm done?
Yeah, that's an awesome question because I feel like it's, oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, my husband and I went to a lot of therapy to figure out how to be different parents, how to,
Yeah.
I don't know. They kept saying, give hope to your family, give hope to your marriage, give hope to everything. And then my child had therapy too. So yes, lots and lots of therapy to try to just talk through it and feel like your feelings are valid, right? And that
Yeah.
is a panic attack, and that is you're not crazy, right? Because that's so many
Right.
people who don't experience that. They just want people to snap out of it. And I share with people, you have somebody in a wheelchair, you don't tell them to just get up and dance, right? But you have somebody with some mental health issues, you just tell them snap out of it, knock it off. What's your problem? Get your head off the desk. But that's not how it works. And then
Right.
I feel like I lived a lot of um disappointment and anger, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I love that you said you want to scream about it, because I often would say I want to go to the top of a mountain and I just want to scream our story and I want everybody to know what happened. And then I didn't know where to take that. Like I'm like, how do I? And then I figured out how people were treating us. And some people were amazing and other people were like, you need tough love. This is ridiculous. Your kid can't act like that. School refusal. This is a joke. And I'm living it. And then I started to realize, I think it's that people don't know. And I want to help people understand instead of be judgmental. I want them to be curious. And so I started to just create these lessons. And it was something I called the social emotional alphabet, create these like opportunities for people to understand what that lump is, what it does, right?
Yeah.
What happens in your brain and how your brain changes and your whole life has to change a little bit. And everything's a threat. I call it like the sphere of threat,
Mm.
that you put on this astronaut helmet and there's red ticker tape in there that says, who's going to hurt you next? What's going on? And I'm like, and then you want the kid to worry about your reading lesson. The kid
Right.
can't, right?
Right.
Because you are unavailable. It's not that you're trying to be defiant. So I said, I have to help educators understand that. And then that's when I just kind of flipped. Honestly, I wasn't myself anymore as a principal. I wasn't that like, I was still loving, but I had to like try harder to be loving. And I didn't
Force it.
like it. I had to
Yeah.
force it. I had to force it. And it took so much energy every day that I'm like, I got to do something different. This isn't working. And so that's when I told my husband, I'm going to take my faculty of 80 and I'm going to make them the entire world, because then I don't have anybody judging me, telling me what to do. Now I get to just say, I believe this is right. I want to help, and then just go do it. And it
Wow.
organically happened, right? It wasn't just overnight. It was like a little bit here, a little bit there, do a few things at the library, and people start to hear, and then they're like, oh, you need to come to our school. And then I was like, okay. And then it just started rolling. And I just, it's been amazing. It's been life-saving, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, just to be able to get out and speak your language and your
Yes.
love and really just share your knowledge on that too. I mean, I love you're so articulating like in terms of how you're expressing what you were feeling. And
Yes.
I think it's awesome. I know for me, just coming from a trauma perspective, one of the things that I've realized that if I'm feeling that lump, if I'm feeling like if I go into church, for example, and I always sit in the back, backs up against the wall. I'm always enjoying what I'm seeing, but that's just my life now. But it usually takes me a while because of all the chaos that's going on, all the different conversations. I'm literally hearing like 100 people talking all at one time. And if you're trying to talk to me, I'm not probably going to retain 80% of what you're saying if I'm in that moment, right? Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it does. And I think that's just my fight mode, preparing myself for what could come.
Yes.
God willing, it doesn't ever again. But I'm trying to build this resistance and then push my trauma back out. I always talk about it's funny you mentioned this fear. I always describe trauma as being a sphere that's out in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And when that trauma is out in front of you, you have the ability through education, through coping skills, through learning more about yourself, through therapy, through listening to people like you talk and share stories like these educators, when they know that trauma is out in front of them, and then all of a sudden, now that trauma starts to back up because maybe, like in my case, I've got too many people around me,
Yeah.
or I'm walking into an environment that I'm not super comfortable with. So I can feel the trauma coming up, which then I can feel that panic. I can feel the anxiety, the back of my throat, my stuttering of speech. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I've learned though through hard work, like you said, is now, okay, I know what I need to do to stop that from getting a little bit too far and getting back here to where I can't swallow. I'm really, now, okay, what am I going to do? So I'll go in the restroom. I'll like, if I'm out and about and I know it's quiet, I'll go outside and I'll just take a quick walk around the fountain wherever we're at.
Yes.
I'll take a deep breath. For me, I would say a prayer. I'm big into my faith, and I'll just relax myself to get that trauma back out here. So
Yeah.
now put yourself in a kid's position that's maybe not experienced, maybe has experienced trauma, but they don't know that they did. They don't
Right.
have the tools to the spidey senses to then push that trauma sphere back out.
Right.
They're whatever. You're a teacher trying to like control the chaos, not understanding that that person's having a serious panic attack and that kid's afraid to go like this and say, hey, hold on, I need help.
Yes. Yes, because I tell teachers that too. Everything you described is so spot on. And I tell teachers that behavior is communication. And that little kid,
Mm,
that kid, I don't even care, a high
such a
school
great
kid,
term.
it's not going to walk up to you and say, hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm really struggling today. I feel like there's an elephant on my chest, so I'm not going to pay attention today. That's a kid. People can't do that.
Mm,
But when you look at the behavior, and when you said that you start to get that lump in your throat and you can't really talk and you're not really sure, that's called being unavailable because you're using so much energy to be okay. And now,
yeah,
now take that into a little kid. They don't care about math. They don't care about reading because they can't. And again, I try to help teachers
right.
understand the kid is having a hard time, not giving you a hard time,
Yeah.
because so many educators want compliance. They want you to come in, sit down, shut up, and listen.
Yeah.
Well, lots of people can't just do that. So that's why that relationship is so huge. And if you see me other than just being a number in your class, and you see me as a kid who has a story, hopefully you're going to love me and help me belong, and know that it's okay that I'm not paying attention right now, or that
Yeah.
I'm looking out the window because I'm kind of freaking out and I'm trying to stay calm and be regulated. But you're not going to call me out for not paying attention. But it happens everywhere. And I feel like that's why people need to be educated about it, because people don't. And I say too, if you've never been through a major trauma, or you don't deal with mental health issues, you won't understand. You really won't. And that's why I always say, please be aware, please be curious instead of judgmental, and be open to other people's stories, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be empathetic. And I think when you're truly vulnerable yourself and you're allowing yourself to show empathy,
Yeah.
that's the kind of the golden nugget, right? Like you're at peace, you're able to then provide guidance, but you're also be able to see those warning signals. And I would imagine that most kids don't know when, like, what an actual panic attack is or what anxiety really is. They're just feeling like you said, staring out at the window, trying to focus on something to get their mind away. So
Yeah.
there's this mental separation from where they're at,
Right.
or like your parents are coming down on you
Mhm.
and you're like, okay, and did you hear what I said? No, probably not, because you're yelling at me right now, and that doesn't do anything to me.
Yeah.
I'm a human being, and I'm not. That's probably a whole nother topic on how we raise our kids and whether you're
Right.
a yeller or a sit down and have a conversation. But it's I think it's just the education part, which I think is so great about what you're doing. And it's not just educating the teachers, but it's also educating the kids. They need
Yeah.
to know that, hey, when you're feeling that funny feeling in your throat, when you're
Yeah.
feeling like the eyes are all on you, these are some practical tips that you can do, whether you're sitting at a desk or
Yeah.
whether you're out in the hallway or whatever, or you're at home, that you can then relieve yourself from all of that anxiety that's pounding around on you.
Right.
Slow your heartbeat down, get control of yourself, create the safe space that you need to be in, and then now take that next step and tackle whatever's in front of you. But we don't do that. I know when I was pitching, and I'll probably, because I want to pass this on to you, there was a late Ken Revisa that was a sports psychologist at a Cal State Fullerton. He worked with all kinds of big league teams, one of the best. Anybody in like professional baseball would know who Ken Revisa was. And he would always say, like, whenever you got to a ballpark, try to pick out like a seat or a tree or something as part of the scoreboard. That would be your mental focus. If you get in the game and things start to get crazy,
Yeah.
walk around the mound, focus on that. Think about, like, why was that built? Who built that? I wonder who turned that nut on the bolt on the scoreboard, or why did someone plant the tree in the middle of center field? Whatever that is, and then turn around and now face that, whatever that is, that situation that you're dealing with, head on again with a more clear mind, right?
Yeah.
That's the sports approach to it. But so yeah,
I love that. And you know what? That makes me think of, you know, how as athletes and as anybody with any trauma, you're trying to push the noise away, right? You're trying to push the
yeah,
noise away.
yeah,
So when you're feeling that stress, now when you add all that trauma and stuff and headaches and PTSD stuff, you're working so hard to push that stress away. And that's why the concentration is so difficult. And I think of, like I always say, pitchers, they're a different breed, man, because you have to get up there and you got to be locked in, dead serious the entire. I mean, I don't even know if you have fun. Hopefully pitchers have fun because they're always looking like they're ready to kill. I mean, you kind of have to. So that's the thing. And that's an amazing skill set to have. And now add a layer of trauma on that where you're trying to
right.
focus and it's so loud that you're trying to concentrate on that tree or that, seed or whatever it is. But that's awesome advice, because it's true. It's all that grounding behavior. How do we get a kid or an adult to just cope and kind of know that they're safe, that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And even at night when I lay in bed, it's a million our fathers, it's box breathing, it's because my brain will start to go and I'm like, nope, 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 you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And start thinking of better things, you know?
Well, it's talking about it too. I think, you brought up something earlier, even this last year. So I go to this it's a big college coach convention in baseball. It's called ABCA. It's a great event. I love it. It's a big reunion for me, seeing a lot of former teammates and friends and work associates. But in 20, it was a couple years ago, I walked into it, and now I'd been, working on my trauma and trying to keep that sphere out in front of me. And I approach things a little bit slower. I identify exit points. I go through all these checkpoints in my mind. But in this one situation, it was like the third day of the show, I found myself somewhat in the middle of this. It's like 10,000, 11,000 people that are in this thing.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, like, I'm not hearing anything that this person's telling me. And he says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I've got PTSD, and I'm really starting to hear like every single bit of chatter right now. So I need to just remove myself. I apologize. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just need to go over to the wall and gather myself, and then I'll come back."
Yeah.
And so I came back, and he's like, "That's amazing that you literally just shared that with me. Like, I don't even know who you are, but are you okay? I
Mhm.
just want to make sure you're fine. Like, we can go outside and talk." He all of a sudden he was worried about me and my emotional like well-being. And it
Yes.
was great because baseball players, sports athletes, we're tough people, right? We're all tough, every athlete. And you try to like get through things, but the empathy when you so now I'm not afraid to tell somebody like, "Hey,
Yes.
like, yeah, I've got PTSD, or I'm just not mentally kind of here right now, so I need to just go over here." Now, most people that I know in my circle know my story, know
Sure.
what I went through, so there's a lot more empathy that's poured onto me.
Yeah.
But now, if you're an educator, what's your advice to like teachers when all of a sudden you see that child in your classroom that's disconnected? I mean, your first thing is like, "Oh, are you on drugs?" No,
Yeah.
not, you're not always on drugs. So how do you like go about that and educate teachers on looking for those signs, and then what should they be doing with those students? Because you don't want to like go up and go, "Hey, are you okay?" in front of all their peers. So
Right.
what would be
Right.
some
Or what's
practical
wrong with you?
tips?
Or you're going to go to the
Yeah.
office if you don't put your head up. To me, it starts way before the kid starts to stare off. And
Oh,
I teach
mhm.
strategies of building relationships with kids because the thing is, when and you said spidey sense, I use that too, because I said kids who have misbehavior or special any kind of a special need or a trauma background, there's this sense of safety, and you either feel it with another human being or you don't. And I said kids feel all of that. I said, so the minute kids walk into your classroom, you're greeting them, you're loving them, you're making sure they're doing okay. It's those little tiny things that I tell teachers, those tiny interactions that help us get to the point where a kid's going to trust us. And when we have that trust, that's when it works. When the kid feels comfortable in the room, the teacher's nice, the teacher's, loving and kind, and you're loving and kind in high school too. That's how it is. That's that respect. Because then when you build that relationship with that kid and that kid feels like they belong, when that kid starts staring off or putting their head down or running out of the room or, crawling under
Mhm.
the desk or telling you to F off, because that it comes out in all different ways, there's already an establishment there that my attitude and perspective has to be, this kid's having a hard time, not giving me a hard time. Number one, I have to self-regulate
Love that.
myself as an educator, and we teach that too, self-regulation.
Mhm.
Because if you're not self-regulated, then you're quick and you're frustrated and you're you might loud and accusatory, and that's not what people need, right? So how do
Yeah.
I calm myself? And then when anytime you approach a kid, it's always at their level, it's always quiet, it's always little things like, how can I help? I can see that you look like you're struggling. It's never get out of my, but that's what it is in so many places. Get out of
Yeah.
here. You're being disrespectful. And you know what I say to people all the time, having your head down somewhere, anywhere in the world, is a sign of like distress. So if I go on a roller coaster and I'm ready to puke after the roller coaster, I'm like, go put my head down. Somebody doesn't come up to me at that amusement park and say, ma'am, you're being so disrespectful, you need to put your head up, until a kid gets in a classroom, right? And then all of a sudden, that's a sign of distress. So not taking things personally is what I really try to help educators understand, because I feel like your own internal struggles have so much more to do with you than they ever do with anybody else.
That's right.
And teachers can heal. And that's what I say, I didn't know as a teacher and as a school administrator, I didn't know that my actions and words were helping people heal. I didn't understand that until I was the mom who had
Mm.
the kid, who needed the healing and the loving and the understanding. And then I realized people that put their arm around me or gave me a hug or said, Mrs. LaFleur, we got this. We're going to be okay. We're going to take care of. I didn't know that that was happening. So those are the things I try to help teachers understand, is that you're not teaching curriculum. You're not. You're teaching kids. You're teaching human beings. And curriculum is important. Great teaching is important, but that compassion has got to be there in every sport, in every, and I'll say that too. Why is it that, you know, Major League Baseball or basketball, whatever, why is it there's all this talent out there, but only one team wins every year? Because there's some serious chemistry and love and story on that team that other guys don't have. And that's what an awesome classroom is to me. It's when you have that understanding that we're people, you're not just a kid in my class, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just God, so much to talk about. It's crazy. The So I want to shift now, going into you becoming an author, and your books and your guides and everything that you have on your website. And we'll, throughout this episode, I'm sure people are seeing your logo pop up, and they're seeing your website link pop up and all these cool things. But talk to us about soaring balloons and heavy shackles. And then let's just talk about that. I know you've written Hop on the Clue Bus and some other different guides that you have up on your website, but what soaring balloons and heavy shackles?
So that soaring balloons and heavy shackles is the reason I get out of bed every day. That's what gives
Mm.
me the strength to get out of bed, because my child drew a drawing and was an amazing artist, is an amazing artist. And we were about 6 years into our trauma journey, and I saw this drawing and I was blown away by it. And I asked him, I'm like, can you please tell me about that drawing? And he was like, Mom, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Nobody was supposed to see that. And I looked at it and I said, okay, when you're ready, I want you to tell me. And it was this beautiful, amazing drawing of this kind of shadow figure with these shackles, but also these big, beautiful bunch of balloons that the kid was holding on to. And he said, Mom, I'm a broken human being. I'm broken. Everything that's
Wow.
happened to me weighs me down, and I can't please you and Dad, and I can't please my teachers, and I'm broken. And I said, I understand why you drew that, those shackles. I said, I live this in my heart as your mom. I said, I understand why you drew that, but I also know that you drew that big, beautiful bunch of balloons, which tells me you want to soar. And I said, sometimes when things happen to us, we don't know how to soar. And I said, I'm going to do everything in my life to help advocate for you and to teach you to self-advocate for yourself, because you are so amazing. You are so beautiful. You are so talented. And I'm so sorry that sometimes life happens to us, and now we have to figure out what we're going to do with it. So soaring balloons and heavy shackles is the drawing that I see when I wake up every day. When I teach, I share about it. That's why the book is called that. And so that's what it is. It's that we have stuff that weigh us down, but we also have people in our lives that get us, love us, understand us, and can help us soar. And I think that's the greatest thing you can do for anybody, whether you're a teacher or a firefighter or it doesn't matter, right? I mean, look what you did. Look at all the stuff you did to help all those people soar, regardless of what happened or what the outcome was. You helped people soar the rest of their lives. You know, I mean, it's just amazing to me, just the rawness of what that means. That's why it's so.
Unbelievable. Wow. I mean, we were talking about another episode that was launched, and it had me going, you just literally, yeah, I got goosebumps. You got me tearing up. I mean, just the emotional piece, it's so relatable to what we all go through. And there's just certain angels that are here amongst us that allow us to feel that a little bit more. And I love that. I mean, just picturesque piece of how you described it with the soaring balloons and him just not being able to figure that out, and then your guidance and your compassion and empathy on that is what we all need.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that advice right there, because we're all shackled, and
Yes.
yet we all want to be able to soar,
Mhm.
and we get tied up in our own emotions and afraid to like just realize we're not alone.
Yeah.
We judge people too much in this society.
Mhm.
We need to allow the inner beauty of everybody, regardless of who they are, to come out
Yeah.
and just absorb their love. That's all. That's all this is all about. Be
Yes.
peaceful, have harmony. You know,
Yes.
the person doesn't want to live in chaos. You
Right.
know, and yes, there are people amongst us that want that, but the
Sure.
majority of this world is good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I always say if we're going to be the good, if we've got to believe there's good in the world, then we have to be it, right? We have to,
Yeah.
I always call it, you're either part of the solution or a part of the problem. And to me, life is crazy and difficult and insane, but it's actually really simple. I think when you think about how about just all you got to do is try to help somebody out, right? And when you help somebody else out, you help yourself out, and then we all feel okay. And it's not this kumbaya crap. That's not what I'm saying,
Right.
but
Right.
really it is. It's just we're all struggling. We're all trying to figure it out. Nobody knows the answers. Nobody knows. I, I don't know. I'm just trying not to screw my kids up and trying not. I'm trying to pay the bills, and I'm trying to just find that inner peace. And that's what I especially try to help educators understand is forget all the mandates, forget the standards. I understand we're teaching subjects, but you're teaching humans, and
Yeah.
we all at the end of the day have a beautiful soul and we're trying to figure it out. And yes, there's nasty out there too, but I will always believe there's more good than there is bad. I will always believe that no matter what goes on.
Yeah. No, 100%. When I got back from Las Vegas, and my daughter asked me, they were talking about good and bad,
Mhm.
and the end result was there's always more good people in this world, no
Yes.
matter what. You're going to have some bad, and you know
Right.
this as well. But you know, do you find that on the education piece, and you're working with the common teacher that's in the classroom to the principals, the executive, I call it the executive staff, but like the staff inside of the principal's office and things,
Sure.
um, versus the I guess would be the city kind of education council and all that stuff. Who's the most challenging to work with on your level when you're wanting to just give back and provide this guidance? Who puts up the biggest front? Who's your biggest fan?
You know what? The biggest front is people who are making decisions who have never done it.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
hardest thing. So the teachers in the trenches, the principals in the trenches, they've all been there, they've done that, they get it. If they think it's about people and kids,
yeah,
they're all in, they're for it, right? And some people get jaded and they get frustrated and burned out and they're like, forget it. Because so often it's, we can't do that with the budget. We can't do that with the budget, but we can make, Michigan Avenue beautiful with $40 million worth of flowers. And yes, we should make our city beautiful 100%. But if we're not putting the funds in the kids, like what's going on here? It doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah,
And again, that definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. And then people will blame teachers and stuff. Almost every teacher I meet is in it for kids. And if they could just shut their door and love the kids and not listen to all the noise that, so those are all the fans, the people who are in it for the kids. Lots of the parents are the fans. It's the people who are making decisions who know nothing about being in a classroom that are the hardest to deal with. Because
I
I
think
wouldn't
that
go,
probably,
sorry, I was going to say, I wouldn't go into a police station and say, well, I've never been an officer, but I'm going to be the chief of police. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. So have a little humility and be a little vulnerable and say, can you help me understand what it's like to be in a classroom? Can I come in and observe, right? But a lot of people don't have time for that because it's all about greed and money. And that's unfortunate, but those are the hardest people, I think, to help understand.
Yeah. Well, now you got your task cut out for you. So
Yes.
you got to
My
break
work is
that.
never done. It's never done. But that's
Well,
good. That's okay.
it's funny. I'm just looking at your other book, Hop on the Clue Bus.
Hop
That's
on.
so relevant. It's like perfect. Every single one of those people should get one of those.
Yes. You know
Jeez.
what? I was 9 months pregnant in my last master's class. I'll never forget, pregnant with my first child. And I'm sitting in class listening to all these people talk about leadership. And I remember jotting down, man, these people need to get on the clue bus because they kept talking about everything but people. And I'm like, when you're a teacher and you're a leader and a coach and a mentor, it's about people. It's about bringing people together. And I'll never forget that. And then that book came out when we started to go through our stuff, and my son didn't sleep ever. I didn't sleep either. So I would write and I would write and I would write and I would talk about the amazing coaches that I had and the coaches that weren't so amazing, but that they all taught me something about adversity. And that became my very first book, Hop on the Clue Bus. And people would say, isn't that a little harsh? And I said, no, it's not, because our kids get one shot. You get one shot at being in
Mm.
second grade, one shot at being in fifth grade. And you know who makes or breaks those shots? We do, every day. So no, get on or get off, you know? And I tell teachers sometimes too, I'm like, everywhere I go, I want to say to somebody, you don't love kids. Like, you don't even like kids. Why are you doing this? Please go work in a cubicle somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
you mean so much what you do to kids and how you come off. It's too important. So if you don't like it or love it, please leave, please.
Hop
You know,
on the Clue Bus.
hop on the clue bus. It's a great
I
place to
love that.
be.
That's such a great title. And yeah, it just hits you. So you're speaking. Are you just in the Chicago area? Are you going international yet? Are you on your tour? Because everybody needs to hear this.
They do. I agree with you. I'm not international yet. I've been to lots and lots of states, been to conferences, been to schools, been to churches, been to businesses, like anywhere where there's a team of people who are trying to make a difference, you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's a keynote, sometimes it's half day, sometimes it's full day. I have online classes I've created. I have a book study going on that will start October 2nd. So just I go everywhere, right? And it's usually word of mouth because I'm just a one girl show. So I'm the media person and I answer the emails. It's funny, I'll get emails that say, could you please have Heidy get a hold of us? And I crack up because I'm like, hi, I'm Heidy. Like I book my own airfare, you know, things like that. So that, yeah, I mean, August is insane because it's all back to school, but
Mm.
like, there's so much booked already just throughout the year. It's growing and it feels so good. And it's mainly word of mouth because people will see it, they'll write a Google review, and then somebody else will see it and hear it, and then
Yeah.
somebody will call me, and it's just kind of cool to see how it works.
It's so inspiring. I know even for me wanting to get into, I am speaking, but I definitely want to do so much more of it.
Yes.
So it's inspiring to listen to you talk about it.
And you will. I'm telling you right now, it is not you. It'll organically happen, and you will be in, because everybody needs to hear you without a doubt, because it's about humility, it's about real life, it's about yes, you are this big tough athlete and this dad and this husband, and but you're a human being, right? And that understanding, and I'm married to a firefighter, so I understand that the stuff that he sees and then just has to deal with and just shake off, it impacts them. This
Yeah.
big husky football player, rugby player, no, it impacts him big time. And people don't see
Yeah.
that because we're just all supposed to be, you know, stoic, and but there's a spot for that peer help and that peer support. And I think like you're just at the beginning of
Mm.
it's gonna blow up, Todd. I'm telling you, it is.
I I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to that moment. I know I always talk about the moment when we've checked our tough box off, and you're tough. You've checked that tough box off multiple times. Your husband, myself, like all of us have checked off that tough box. And when you've done that, there's no reason why you ever have to feel like you're not tough and you can raise your hand and you can
100%.
say, hold on, I'm going to be totally vulnerable. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel right now. And I
Yes.
need help.
Yes.
Because I didn't realize it too. You have so many friends, family, people around you that want to offer help. I just did a little video on this, and talking about peer support, how you build peer support that is relatable to you, and how you find those pals and those rocks that you could call all the time, no matter what, they're going to listen to you. There's a whole process to that, and finding somebody that actually can relate to what you're feeling. That's the whole part of it. Like your own trauma, that person's experienced something relatable, which is why you guys connect. I could be talking about baseball and sports technology. And the minute that I start to open up about something I'm feeling or something that I've done, or one of the guests that I had on my show, all of a sudden it shifts like, oh, wow. Like, oh, resilience, trauma, like empathy, craziness. Like, how did they stand back up for themselves? And when did they go in and all these things? And it becomes exciting. And then all of a sudden they're like, wow, we just had a crazy talk. Like I haven't spoken that way to anybody. And you're going, yeah, because we're just talking openly. It's the way we should. So
Yes.
that's the one thing I really got from you when we first met was, I'm, virtually, we haven't met in person yet, but, you're so open and approachable. And that's the recipe to not only just being a great teacher, because you're probably remembered from so many students that like, oh yeah, I have Mrs. LaFleur, and yeah, oh great, you got Mrs. LaFleur, and there's this excitement around the kids because you actually cared. And I'm not saying teachers don't care, because they do. They go in the battlegrounds every single day. But arming themselves with more tools that you're willing to provide to them is only going to help them probably enjoy their job more.
Yes.
Pay attention to the kids, that you might save lives on that,
Yes.
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
awesome.
It is awesome. That makes me think
Wow.
of the social emotional alphabet that I have. There's posters and visuals that go with it. And the A is acknowledge before accusation. And it talks about how you have to acknowledge a kid and their story before you accuse them of something, right? You have to offer them due process, let them talk it out. And the visual says, your tone of voice and your body language can change the life of someone. And I tell them, not just the life of a kid, but the life of you. Because when you start seeing behavior differently, you're not so mad. Your heartbeat isn't up so much because it's a kid who's misbehaving. Okay, so what? Let's figure out what's going on. How can I guide that kid instead of get mad at that kid? And it
Right.
changes your whole view, which hopefully helps us be a little happier, healthier, whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good stuff.
Wow. Awesome. I mean, what a great throwdown right there. You are definitely going in. You've gone in for just so many people in need, your family, yourself. Yeah, thanks for the goosebumps. Thanks for the water into the eyes, the stand up and high fives. You're a warrior, and it's just awesome to have had a chance to talk to you. So
Thank
thank
you.
you
It
for
was
being on the
awesome to
show.
meet you. I'm telling everybody about you. Especially all my fire. I'm like, guys, I met Todd. Okay, we got to figure this out. So I have all these resources. We'll talk later, but
Thank you.
it's awesome to feel that with another human being. So it's great. And I
Yeah.
appreciate the opportunity.